I am Lenore. I'm a singer and a voice teacher, and I'm here with Sergey Kuhne. Is the founder of the voice training platform Singing Carrots. And we teamed up before. I did a tutorial on how to use Singing Carrots to train your pitch awareness. So that's for people who are struggling with singing in tune. And that's a really fantastic tool to do that, and also just basically to practice your voice. So I wanted to talk to Sergey specifically about where the future is going when it comes to learning singing online. What is specifically the role of AI, artificial intelligence, in voice training, in learning how to sing. And Sergey, he is the expert because he built his platform from scratch, right, by yourself, right, Sergey?
Hello. Wow,
Hi.
that's a really nice intro. Thanks for all the warm words. I'm really happy to be here talking about all this cool and exciting stuff. Yeah, I am the founder of Singing Carrots. We indeed help people train singing. I also have engineering background. I also literally wrote the code for the app and still keep doing it a little bit along with my team. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about all these things. And yeah, AI is a hypey topic now, no?
Yeah,
So
that's
we
why we're
will touch.
talking about it.
Yeah, we will try to touch on that.
Yes.
Um,
With, first of all, understanding where you're coming from, what is your singing background, what made you want to found Singing Carrots, and why did you call it Singing Carrots?
I actually wrote an extremely long article about it and published it online because so many people asked me. But in short, it was supposed to be something memorable, and it seems it works.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit about myself. So my background is mostly in tech. I used to work for a bunch of tech companies doing software development, running teams that are doing software development, doing product development, and music was always my hobby. I am not a professional musician. I don't have like formal education or degree in that area. But I always sang. I had bands. Like I have some music on Spotify. Well, anyone can now generate with AI and upload, right?
Yes.
I've heard that's a trend. You know what's fun about it? They say that AI generated stuff cannot be copyrighted. So there is like this very big thing going on that yeah, if you generated a song with AI and the AI wrote a song, you cannot get royalties for that. So
Oh, okay.
um that's
But
like
then
yeah.
you also cannot be sued if you use it, or
Yeah,
can you?
exactly. So on one hand, like the world is getting flooded with a lot of rubbish. But on the other hand, like what's nice, right, is like some actually nice pieces are being created, and a lot of authors, right, are worried about the protection. But here you go, right? You train the
Mm.
model on some authentic text or music, then you create something with AI, and booms, you cannot like reap the money from that. Like
Hmm.
I think that's a good thing. Um, but yeah, coming back to myself, um, so around 2018, I think I've started another pet project that eventually turned into what Singing Carrots is right now, and it grew organically. I didn't have a plan to get into the business of teaching music. I didn't have even a plan of doing anything educational at all. So what happened is that I was at that point in time working for a company called Booking.com. I was a product manager, and we had a mantra, which was basically build something that people want. And really, really try hard figuring out what that is. What do they want? And I always liked building tools. So I had some free time back then at home. And when I would come after work, I would be like, okay, let me like code something or do something fun. And I was taking vocal classes at that time. And there was a constant thing that I would come, I would like myself struggle with that and see other students struggle with that and would be like, what can be a song that we can sing together with the teacher during the class? And I would be like, yeah, I like that song. And the teacher would be like, no, no, that's too hard for you. I'm like, okay, I like this one. And then she would be like, oh, no, like some other reason why we shouldn't do it. And then she would propose something. And I'm like, I don't like it. Like, I like, and then this struggle around repertoire seemed to be a common thing. Obviously, each teacher back then had like a list of things like that they normally would suggest, but still, I felt limited. So I was like, okay, let me just create a database of all the songs, take their vocal ranges. And at that point, I already knew what the vocal range is. I knew mine. So I was like, okay, I will know which songs fit me. So I started like creating this database and I've put it online so
Mm-hmm.
other people can find it. And at first it was literally like just a huge dictionary of songs. You could come and like check, okay, for each song, can I sing that? Can I not sing that?
Based
That's
on
how it's,
range. Yeah,
yes. And that's how it all started. Of course, like it's simplified way to know if a song is a good fit, but for me, it was a good start.
it's a good start.
Sorry for a long story. Is that I very quickly realized a lot of people like they have no idea what the vocal range is or what is their vocal range, right? And I started, okay, how can we like help them figure that out? So I started figuring out, can we actually like do some sort of interactive test that the person would sing into the microphone and we will detect what note it is and create a process like where we can figure out, okay, that's your range. So I've got into that. And I've built that test, and that was fun. A lot of people liked it, and the website started getting traffic. And I was like, okay, what else can we do? I started building more vocal tests, playing around that. And then at some point, one of the tests that I made was basically a pitch matching test where you would be given a melody and you would have to sing along and then you would visually see, okay, are you hitting the notes or not? And I brought that back then to my music teacher, and I'm like, look, I've done this. What do you think of that? And she was like, oh my God, like I love it. Like, can we like twist it? And then she started like giving ideas of how to turn that into something actually usable for her students. And then that's how our collaboration started and the product slowly started turning into something that has to do with vocals and education. Then
Awesome.
um, I started educating myself, reading, researching, understanding like how this whole thing works, taking more video lessons, like taking more classes myself, reading books. And then I figured out that in tech, essentially, it's like a limited space. Not so many big companies invest into it. There is a niche to actually build a business, and there is a problem that can be solved with technology. And back then, when I looked at it, it looked like that we can provide a couple of things. First, and it turned out the most important is a safe space.
Hmm.
It's like a lot of people, it turns out that the main blocker why they do not start singing is because there is a judge in front of them. And if there's just a human, any human, doesn't matter how good a human is, it's just like, yeah, they just cannot do it. But if they're alone in the shower, they can try. They can handle themselves. And when we put in front of them the computer that doesn't have a soul, all of a sudden that was like, relieving them, releasing the tension and allowing them just to try, just to start. And then my job was that once they actually allow themselves to do that, to convince them that they should continue and that they are capable of improving. And that was essentially like the biggest problem I saw an opportunity for like to solve with the technology. But then how do you convince a person, right? You need something like you need a substance for that. And that's where the second part came is the data and the objective part of the sound. Um, we can visualize the voice in a sense, right? We can draw spectrograms, we can show how your pitch is going, and it's objective, right? You cannot like trick the computer. If you are singing at a certain note, you're singing at a certain note, and we can show it to you. And that's something measurable, you can measure it. So it turned out the best way to convince a person they are not as bad as they think is just to show them in numbers how good or bad they are. And that unlocks them in a way to make the second step and maybe go and find a teacher and hire a teacher, or maybe just play more or read something or start watching YouTube tutorials or whatnot. Um, and I started with that idea. Then I was looking at similar products in education, and Duolingo is a very big thing that kind of inspired me in a way that I like how I was thinking, how shall I structure the product? So I was like, for some time, keeping this idea in my head that, okay, I take this idea of safe space, I add data and voice visualization, and I pack it all together in a box that looks like Duolingo kind of game. So it's fun.
Duolingo. Oh, Duolingo. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
So a game.
that's kind of yeah, I felt like it shouldn't be something too serious because I wanted to target beginners. I wanted to target people who are not doing it professionally. If you are like really a professional, probably you don't need help with like sitting next to the teacher and taking a class. So that was not really people who I was targeting in the beginning. And yeah, that's how the product was evolving over the last. So the name Singing Carrots appeared in 2021. So it's been 5 years now. And just 2 months ago, we figured out a way to introduce AI into the product. And I think that changes the narrative a lot. And I'm happy to talk about it more. But that's more or less like the chronological story of how the product evolved and how I ended up doing that.
I love that. That's great. So, yeah, we will dive more about how you started introducing AI. So you said that was how many months ago?
So I think the idea came maybe early November, and in December we actually did the mass release when everyone got access to it. So it's been 2 months that we actually
Wow.
have the real data looking at like how people use it in the product. So it's very early.
Yes.
Um, and
You think that the AI tool that you're using now, how is it genuinely helpful? And also what is missing or what is not helpful in your opinion? Yeah. So give us
yeah,
both.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'll touch on that as well. Uh, I strongly believe it can be useful if used right. And that's why it is available to all our customers. Otherwise, we wouldn't roll it out. But I think that there are things to be clarified there. So, yeah, I'll start with the idea and then I'll get to that. So the idea came from this. Um, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of tests on the website. And these tests, they essentially serve as an onboarding, right? Before you start training, we're trying to get an idea of where you are. So we ask you questions, we ask you to sing a scale, we ask you to sing the lowest, the highest, like so we have some data around your profile. So based on that, we can actually propose a way to train you. And the problem with that there are so many people with so many different backgrounds, it's really hard to come up with a test that everyone would be able to pass through, complete, understand what it is about, and eventually get like a good recommendation based on it. So I was sitting and trying to see, okay, like I don't know, let's say I give you a major scale, and you cannot hold one note. That's too much, right?
Hmm.
Okay, maybe I start from one note. I give you one note. That's boring. You drop off. And like you sit and design that kind of test. And then at some point I was like, what if I actually, like, what I would do if I was there in front of that person doing the test as a human, what I would do, right? I wouldn't only ask them to do something, I would also clarify questions, right? And those questions would be based on how they sing. So I would ask them to sing, they would sing, I would clarify something with words, they would answer, and based on that, like I would do multiple step assessment kind of thing. And that's where it clicked to me that actually maybe AI, a language model like ChatGPT can be useful here because that's what it can essentially do. It can hold a conversation, it can look at sources that you can give to it, and it can suggest what might be the next step. So that's how the idea came.
So that's
And yeah,
so that's actually the difference, the main difference between the artificial intelligence, AI, and just normal quote unquote technology. So what you had before on Singing Carrots, you had these kind of, machines sort of that or codes that could get the input of your voice and then give you something back. But those were not, yeah,
so
those basically
so
were not
yeah,
interactive enough.
yeah, and not customizable enough. Or maybe like, let's say there are two dimensions there, right? So I can tell you, okay, maybe sing a melody for me, right? And one person knows perfectly what a scale means, right? What are the names of the notes, where they are on the piano, how to read the clef. And there is another person that knows nothing about it. And there are like 100 other people who are somewhere in between. And when you talk to all of them, you need to talk differently.
Yeah,
And
that's
how do
right.
you
That's
code?
what a teacher would
How
do.
do you code? Yeah, how do you code that, right? That's very hard to code because then you have to figure out 100 ways of how to structure a dialogue just for one first step. And for the next step, 100 more. And then you multiply 100 by 100. And then it's just too much to code. And that's where AI essentially comes in. Because what AI can do, it can essentially like predict based on what the user says, what they know, and what language to use that they will understand and can clarify if something is uncertain. Um,
Wow.
and I think this is something that a lot of generic apps have, right? ChatGPT can do that. But what we did on top of that is we added the layer of music generation. And that's the most important thing, I think. This is something unique that nobody yet did in our industry. Like, if somebody shows me an app that does it, probably that's going to be something that was released a week ago because I'm really monitoring the internet. And we have like two competitors that are also trying to do something with AI, but not the way we do. They do it differently. The way we do it,
So
nobody does.
explain.
When somebody comes to you, right, to a teacher, to a class, and you start warming them up by the piano, what do you do, right? You tell them, "Hey, listen to my piano," right? And you give them the melody, or you tell them, "Listen to me," and you sing for them a reference, right? And then you ask them to repeat that, but where those notes are coming from your head, right? You, like, as a human, you generate the melody. And how can you write it down? You would write it down in notes, right? As a text. And now what ChatGPT does, it can write text, right? So it can write notes. So we are trying to simulate that person. We basically take ChatGPT and place him behind the piano. So he has a
Okay.
mouth, he has a mouth, right? And through that mouth, he speaks to you and
Mm-hmm.
tells you something. But he also, like you as a teacher, you also have hands. You play the piano, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we taught the model to do. We taught it to play the piano for you. So it can give you a reference what you should sing, right? So,
Wow.
and that's essentially where AI is getting plugged right now. So it cannot sing for you. Yeah, please tell me.
I have a question about that. So you said that, it generates melodies, so it just makes a melody on the spot?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
it
cool.
has a it has a library of references, obviously, right? So it's
Yeah.
not like that it generates completely random melody. It is instructed to generate certain types of melodies. But in the end of the day, it can be anything, whatever he comes up with here on the spot. Like he has the fingers on the piano, just like that.
Right.
Um, so the next thing would be probably to simulate what the teacher does is also to let him sing. That's for now maybe a couple of months away. That's also possible, but it's just harder to generate like singing voice, not in terms of tech, but in terms of money. It's expensive and it's going to be slow because you want like a flow. And that's
Yes.
like just a compromise kind of that we came with because, we were like, okay, if we give you a reference on the piano, probably you can repeat that with the voice. It's doable.
Most people can.
Um, so yeah, that's how it works. So it gives you a reference, it creates it on the spot based on what you told it. And then comes the next moment is when you sing that and it needs to understand what you did. And that's where all the years of tech that we were building before are helping us to actually take your voice and convert it into data that we can give back to that AI so it understands what you just sang.
Yeah.
And then it just generates the next piece that it writes, that it plays on the piano for you, and maybe tells you something. And then you just go like that. Uh, Pretty much we're trying to simulate what's going on during the warm-up part in the very beginning of a real lesson that you would have as a human uh, with your student.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So, how should one use this tool? For which purpose? You say warm up. Is there also another purpose they can use it, or is it specifically for warm up? And then, what should they not do with it?
Yeah, so I think so I don't want to say too much because we release updates every week, so maybe it will get more functionalities, right? So, but in
Okay.
general, I would think about it that way. If there is anything you can do by singing scales with the teacher, you can do the same thing with that tool as well. So if you as a teacher think, for example, that singing scales can help you extend your range because you're going to sing them in a particular way, you can do exactly the same thing with that thing. If you just want to warm up by singing scales, that's also fine. You just warm up. So what it cannot really help you with is what you cannot solve by singing notes, singing along the piano. So that's essentially the limitation.
Can
Now,
you elaborate?
well, imagine, right? Sometimes, I don't know, somebody comes to you, to a class and tells you, hey, like when I'm performing on stage, I feel like that, I don't know, I cannot reach high notes that I normally can at home. I just made this up, right? But like, and then what would you do with such a person as a teacher?
So then I would coach them for performance because performance adds another layer of nerves that maybe they
Exactly,
don't have at
right?
home. So
And
you
you
need to
need
be
to
coached through
see
that.
so many things about them, about their posture, right? About like their mental state at the point, and you as a human can read all of these things. So the AI cannot read these things when like it just hears you singing a melody. It gets some technical information about it. Were you on pitch? Were you stable? Were you on time? That kind of things, right? But it doesn't know, were you sitting comfortably? Right? The camera is not turned on. It doesn't know what happens inside your body as like as you
Right.
sing. So it cannot judge on those things. So you shouldn't expect it to judge, and you shouldn't expect it to help you with that. And that's where I think a very subtle problem appears, which is basically if you don't know what you don't know. Because you
Right.
as a teacher, you know all these things, right? You know that uh, in order to help someone with that thing, you need to see their body, and in order to help them with that thing, it's enough to hear them, for example, right? But a student, they have no idea why they're struggling, right?
Right.
And they cannot self-correct, and that's where I think the main limitation right now sits, is not with capabilities, but more like with the knowledge gap of the student of how things work in general, and where they should go and where they should not go.
Okay,
I
that's
think
a very good point to keep in mind. So when you're using an AI tool, you should be aware that we as human beings, and especially as a singing instrument, we have our entire body, and the behavior of the body influencing the voice. Yeah, critically. So until we have the tools, the technical tools for a bot to look at you and analyze your posture and then be able to coach you through that as well, and that has mental psychological skills around singing and performance training experience and all of that. Until that happens, you will need probably coaching that is specified to that.
100%.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting for me personally because that those are the things that I coach. Yeah, and I just we just launched for our own students in my program from Whisper to Roar. We launched a bot. We launched a ChatGPT called the Little Linor bot, and it is basically trained in all of my methods, philosophies. You know, we had transcripts from group lessons that I have done and all of my online courses. So it basically knows my mind. So right now, you're at the point where you can ask it, you know, what you just asked before. Like when I'm on stage, I can't reach notes that I'm reaching at home. What can I do? And then it will explain to you why that is, and it will tell you what you need to do. But I don't know if it's there yet that it can coach you directly. Yeah, just tell you exactly what to do and then evaluate between one performance and the other. Because at the end of the day, you also need to see the student, see and hear them, and get
100%.
the entire experience of this. So, and of course, we also know that performance as a whole is more than just the data of the characteristics of the sound. So the characteristics of the sound and how good or bad the sound is, how much on pitch it is or not, that's one aspect of a very big picture that is the performance. So what I want to ask you is, when do you think we will come to a point when that would be possible? Because, you know, at some point it will be possible, right?
So if you ask me from the technology perspective, just purely can we build something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
We are there already. Now the main question is the cost. It is very expensive and has no sense to do because it's going to be much more expensive than any human coach.
But okay, talk to me about that. Do you, so what do you mean? Like, what is there already exactly? What is possible?
Um, so you already have all the AIs that are able to watch the video, right, and judge about what's happening there, and they're pretty good at that. Uh, but it takes time, right? So if you upload a video first, it takes time to get uploaded, then it processes you, like then it just makes sense out of it, thinks, and it might take a minute or something, right? So if you compare it with what happens with the coach that looks at someone singing, that's so much slower.
Yes.
Then the other thing is that you shouldn't just get that video, right? You should take all the other information. What was the sound that I heard? What was the conversation that happened before? What do I know about this person? What's the context in which we are right now? And you have to reconcile all of this together. And our human brain right now is doing the job of this very quickly, very effectively, and not super accurately even maybe because each
Because
human is
we are
different. But
human.
someone, yeah, because
Yeah.
we're humans, we make mistakes, but we are extremely fast. We're trained very well to do that. And if you take an analogy, like a person to get to that level, right, spends like half of their life first getting a degree, then getting practice, and then eventually getting to the point when you can just like this figure out what's wrong and what's not. And you were trained. So AI needs to be trained and AI needs to get much, much faster. It already has all the senses, so to speak. It already has eyes, it already has ears, it already has enough data to be able to learn all of this. But if you look at the cost of how much it costs to process 1 minute of video, if you look at how fast it replies given current electricity capacity, it's just very expensive to do it. So that's why we do a very simplistic thing where we just take some parts extracted out of the sound and text where right, we just type. You cannot, for example, on singing carrots, you cannot talk to AI. You chat to AI. And when you sing, it actually also doesn't like really literally hear you. It just sees some numbers extracted from that sound. And that's why it's cheap, but it's limiting. So I think what's going to be happening is that over time, the models will be getting faster and cheaper as more money is deployed into the data centers, mostly in the US and China. but it's really hard to say like what's going to be the scale of improvement, right? Because they seem to be slowing down a little bit in terms of capabilities, and nobody knows in the world right now if they release tomorrow GPT-6, like what's going to be the increment of improvement compared to GPT-5 that we have now, and will it take them a year or two or 10? That we don't know.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think something like that is definitely within the horizon of 10, 15 years, 100%. But it requires the models to get faster and cheaper right now. And it requires somebody, like a company probably, with a very strong, good development team and the knowledge to sit and actually put all this together and make a product out of it and figure out how to package it, how to deliver it, how to distribute it, and like give it into the hands of the people. Um, that's
Yeah.
yeah. I hope that gives an idea.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, I understand the timing. That was my initial question. We basically cannot know that. But you did say that all of the technology already exists. So I'm going to challenge us on that a little bit. So, for you said the bot has eyes, so it can see you, so potentially can analyze posture, and maybe like presence, maybe expressions, even like facial expressions.
Yep.
And it can analyze your voice, right? So it can analyze the accuracy of the pitch. It can analyze maybe like other traits. Can it analyze depth, richness of the voice, like tone?
So that's another. Are you familiar with still vocal training?
Yes.
So what they do, right? They take a spectrogram and they essentially teach people how to look at the picture of the spectrogram and judge on the timbre. So
Yeah.
we have people who are able already to look at raw audio and judge on that. So you can teach AI with a still, basically. You can
Oh,
you
yeah.
can you and then it will be able to look at the sound picture and judge
Yeah.
on all of these things following their methodology. Or if there is a better one, then maybe following that better methodology.
Okay.
So nobody yet taught AI to do that. We are actually working on something like that, but not
Okay.
the whole entire thing. We are taking like little qualities one by one. I just don't want to put too many spoilers right now.
But no, that's
But
intriguing. You should. You should give us teasers at least. Not maybe not spoilers, but give us teasers.
uh, so there are, yeah, I don't have like timelines for that, because with AI, what happens, you teach it and then it's accurate 80% of the time. You cannot ship it, right? And then maybe you get something that is accurate 90% of the time. You're already, okay, that's something, but still you cannot ship it. Once it's 99%, then you are maybe. So we are right now at a point where we can judge with accuracy around like between 80 and 90%, for example, in which register you are, and that can be automatically detected. We can know which vocal mechanism are you using and how much twang is in the sound. We
Okay.
can we can know how nasal basically is your sound to a certain extent.
Good.
And the main challenge is calibrating those things because um, as I said, right, most of our users, they have no idea what all these terms mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I show to a beginner, hey, this is how much twang out of 100 you had in your voice, they will be like, okay, and what do I do with that?
Yeah.
Uh, so
But that's also a question for teachers. Like that that would be a almost a philosophical question because some people will say there is something like too much twang, and they would even say some singers have too much twang to my taste, but to other people's taste, that's amazing, right? And so that would be my next question. Like, so it can detect the tone and the qualities, twang, depth, whatever, the
so
spectrogram
just to
according
be
to a
very
steel.
clear, as of
Yeah.
today, our AI that is live is not able to do that.
Yes, but you're working
But
on that.
But yes, we're working on something that will be able to do that. Yes,
That's
and
right. Yeah,
technically that is definitely possible. It is gonna slow down the model if we're gonna just put it as is, and it is not 100% accurate. So there is like room for improvement there that we need to fix some things, but it will certainly gonna be solved. This is
right.
like clear, already clear.
Yeah, great. So that's exciting. So what about the human aspect or the emotional, well, the emotional aspect of the singing and the performance as a whole? Because you can measure all of the stuff that we talked about. Yeah, the things that are supposed to be ideal in a voice. You should have like distant resonance, you should have flexibility, you should have twang, you should have, like, there are all kinds of technical aspects that can be measured, and we can show the person how they're doing with all of that. But you and I both know that there are singers out there that are not the best singers, and still there are performers that are very successful and adored and,
Of course,
incredibly influential in
including
our
me.
time. How do we communicate that to the person that is training? And is there a way that eventually they'll be able to be trained by a bot alone and still get that finishing touch? Because if I'm only training with a bot and it tells me all the things that I have and don't have, I can think, okay, then I guess I cannot perform yet because I don't have all these traits trained enough. But maybe that's not true, right? Maybe I'm not the best singer, but I can be an incredible performer and songwriter, and I can influence a lot of people's lives and give a lot of joy to people.
I see. Like that's very existential question you're asking. And
Yeah,
the interesting thing is my wife is a psychologist, and you can imagine she has similar questions in relation to her profession. And we talked about it a lot. So at this point, obviously you can go open ChatGPT and start using it as your personal psychologist, right? And it's actually pretty good, right? Even if you know what you're doing, you can tell it, okay, follow the cognitive behavioral uh, therapy method, and it will just do pretty good job. So, and what's missing in that part that you remember we started when I said that a lot of people need to remove the human from the room in order
right.
to be able to start, right?
Yeah,
So the fun part about us as being humans and holding a lot of instinctual things from animals is that we have certain biological responses to humans only. So
yes,
sometimes to get a certain response, you need to place a human in a room. And like just knowing that this human is there makes a difference. And it doesn't
exactly.
matter if that human is as smart as AI or dumber or smarter, but the fact that it's a human and another human knows that there is a human there, that's what makes a very big difference. And yeah,
Totally.
so for example, right, if you take, let's say, group therapy, right, why it even exists? Because you put in a circle a lot of people together and they all start influencing each other, they all start projecting on each other, they all start like essentially feeling those things that we feel when there is another human in the room. And I think
Right.
this will never go away. This is just, I don't know, unless really AI will just get into the genetical generation of like artificial humans. But then the question comes, is there soul? And, uh, yeah, are they going to be different from us, or are they also going to be humans essentially?
I mean, for me, it would be just enough if we can get our responses to humans to be replicated by AI. So if you think that there is a person in front of you, is that good enough? I know that if I, for example, I'm struggling with focusing and I need to do some tasks, so I can go on an online platform where other people are trying to concentrate and focus and do their work, and we can just do a co-working session together. I don't know the person, Sometimes their camera is not even on. And if
What's
their
what's
camera
the
is
platform you're
on,
using?
focus mate.
Yeah, yeah, I know this one. Yeah, yeah.
It's just
It's
knowing that
amazing.
someone sits there. That's enough for me. So would it be the same if I knew that a robot is sitting there, like waiting, or
No, it
doing their
wouldn't.
own tasks? Probably not, but maybe someday it will. Like if it looks enough like a person, if it asks you, questions like, "Hey, what you're gonna work on?" Because that's basically all that happens, and that person is on a camera
So,
somewhere in the
and
world.
I think that's already philosophy where we get. I unfortunately don't have answers. I'm not sure if anyone has. But yeah, like as long, I would say, right, as long as we as humans can distinguish, there will be a difference and there will be a room for us, what like we can do and what purposes we can find for sure.
Yeah,
The moment we pass that line where we cannot say, we cannot tell apart, yeah, then it's not about like, right, it's not about vocal education anymore. It's just gonna be such a grand question in general about everything.
yeah, yes. In your history with the singing carrots and what you've seen there, how you've seen people interact with the platform, and that gamified approach that you um, have you seen, well, for sure, you've seen some success stories. Can you think of like one or two fun stories of people who just started maybe, either from scratch or being in a very bad place and really like um, nailing it at the end?
The fun part is that I have my personal favorite testimonial.
Okay, okay, go.
It's actually available online. You can go on Trustpilot and Google it because I have no idea who that person is who left it. I never met them. But what they literally wrote is that um, I've spent 10 years trying to get into singing and I got it solved in 1 month.
Wow.
And that's like a header, and then like they go with a really really long story of what happened to them, how they went to different coaches, how they tried this method, that method, went to acquire, it didn't work, and essentially what the person needed uh, was some sort of perception click uh, that they got with the visual feedback. And I think it's like not really Singing Carrots is unique in that sense. There are a lot of apps that could do the same for that person, which it happened to be the one that they discovered. And that was um, like such a perfect marketing story that you can share to anyone. Just make a screenshot. Um,
I love
but
how that happens. That
uh,
sometimes you
but
get
but but
accidental
that's
commercials.
yeah, somebody I don't know, but like there is another fun one which so it's actually from a teacher. There is this guy, his name is Graham, and he is teaching in the UK. And one day I'm getting from him an email, and he's like, "Hey, like, can you add that feature to your website?" I already don't remember what even the feature was. I'm like, yeah, why do you want it? And he's like, yeah, one of my students like is practicing on your platform is really good. Like, and I'm like, that's super interesting. Let's just get to know each other. So I invite him on a call. We connect. Uh, this guy is already close to his retirement, chill, like sitting, like teaching somebody in like a small little town in the UK. And I'm like, so what do you think of Singing Carrots? I ask him, and he's like, I've never seen it. And I'm like, yeah. And why did you even like, message me? And he's like, yeah, like I have this student. He came to me. He told me about it. I see that since he started telling me about your platform, he started getting better. And I notice it on my classes.
Hmm.
And I'm like, and you are not even curious to see what we do. He's like, no, it just works. I see it works. So just like I sent more students to you. They practice, they come, I see they get better. I have no idea what you are doing there. Like,
That's brilliant. Oh,
I
that's
was like, yeah,
great.
sure. Send me more students who will do the same thing that you have no idea what it is.
Okay, but let's elaborate on that because that's great. That's a great aspect to take a look at. I'm a voice teacher, and you had that contact with the other voice teacher who told you that this tool was making people get better. How can you use singing carrots to get better with your singing lessons?
Oh, can I tell one more thing? One more thing before
Yes,
we go
yes,
there.
do it.
So, and I'm actually very, very proud of that because you asked about success stories. So we actually like are obsessed with data a little bit as a company. So we have something that we call a live mission tracker. So it's like a public page on the website where you go and you see a number and it's updating real time. And it's literally how many people we helped.
Okay, interesting. And
And
how do you
and
determine
we
who you helped?
four things.
Okay.
One if they told us, and we
Hmm.
just, well, you know,
We'll take
simple.
them at their word.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Second, we track that their pitch accuracy improves over time, and we have a threshold of like by 20% from what it was when they came. Second is vocal range extension. If they essentially started hitting higher notes than that they came with consistently. And we take like if they do at least like two semitones higher than where their like breaking point was. And the fourth is basically the habit formation, because what we believe in is that a win is not only if you start singing better, but if you were not singing and if you started singing at all. So if we see that somebody formed a habit and started consistently doing the practice, we also say, okay, we helped that person form a habit. So we basically take these four uh,
Yeah,
categories,
and the last one is
sum them up.
incredibly important, the forming a habit one.
This is, I think, that used to be the strongest point of gamification that you add into the product, right? Because people have a reason to come back, like they wanna, I don't know, get their points, like they wanna see themselves in the leaderboard somewhere, or some people just like this, they like to see checkboxes, you know?
Yeah,
For example, what I wanted just to say is that I'm really proud that we have the page online and anyone can go and transparently see how many people we helped. We are right now below 10,000, okay? Uh, our goal is 1 million, so we have a lot to do.
it's good to have a goal. Yeah, but you'll get
Yes.
there, I'm sure. How does it help students get better at their singing lessons?
So I think I just touched on one very important point, the habit building.
Because you need to
Um,
practice.
Essentially, like my favorite analogy is the gym where like you need to learn how to do the exercise first, and then you have to go and do the volume in order to actually like get the muscle memory, build the stamina. So I think we are kind of a gym, right? Where you can come and practice, like a place where you can do it. So if you're thinking, where shall I practice? Well, there's a place online. That's our website. You come to Singing Carrots, you do it. Second thing is we cover all the fundamentals in terms of the theory. So we have structured courses. You follow the courses and you learn basic concepts, basic terminology, and basic anatomy of what is involved in singing training to start with.
That's
And
fantastic because most teachers in the lesson, they're just busy with what's in front of them, right? So they hear you, they give you some technique, but most of them don't take the time to actually teach you anatomy, to teach you all the knowledge around.
I'll be frank, it's not for everyone. We have a lot of students who just skip that, and probably, I don't know, you probably have students who are bored with that when they come to a lesson, no?
No,
Never?
and anatomy is a fascinating thing. Everybody loves hearing about that
Okay,
because
maybe
it
we should
blows your
improve the
mind. You're
way
like,
we
oh, I
present it.
didn't know that it works that way. I don't. I mean, maybe they don't tell me if they're bored with it, but from what I see, most people do like it. That aspect of the voice.
So that's probably an improvement point for us, huh?
Yeah.
Like to make the videos more entertaining. But yeah, we covered the basics and then we measure everything. So as you saying, we literally record every note you hit, every note you miss. So you can see over time what's going on, like what's happening with your range, what's happening with your stability, with your pitch accuracy. So that was a very common ask that I've observed when I was researching the problems around the field is like people come to a teacher and they ask, okay, I want to like improve, how long it's going to take? And then the teacher will go, yeah, it depends, like we will need to see. And so and I understand, right? It depends. It's true. It depends. I understand. It really depends if you're gonna practice or not. It really depends on like from which background you come, like, and it depends. But we gathered enough data to turn that it depends into some sort of quantifiable thing, and we even
Right.
added like a money guarantee, right? We already know that almost anyone, disregarding the initial level, if they enter into the program and stick with us 3 days a week, 3 months, we didn't have any single case that wouldn't progress on those metrics that we're tracking for the mission, for the pitch accuracy, and for the range. No, no single
Cool.
person.
That's
So
amazing.
we essentially have a money back guarantee. We say like, okay, follow the course for 3 months. It doesn't work for you, like we remove the money. Oh, sorry, we returned the money. I had one person to whom we returned the money so far over all this time. They were
Wow.
unsatisfied with the style we have, the teaching style we have. And okay, I sent the money back. I said, sure,
Yeah.
why not? Yeah, but it was
One
like most of
person.
the, yeah, like so the data really helps because every day you come and you can see what was happening yesterday and how you compare to the month ago. So that's very powerful. Um, and then we obviously have the visual feedback on pitch, on tempo. And now we have AI that, as I said, right, sits by the piano, generates the melodies for you to sing, explains things as you go.
Mm.
Um, so I think the best way to use us for if you're a student, right, is like to think, okay, that's my gym. I go there, I exercise like regularly. If we talk about the teacher, I think this is where it can vary, really. Um, I think ideally, right, you want to be with the student as much as possible. But like, I know that different teachers focus on different things. Some teachers want to have few students, go very deep with them and like spend a lot of time with them. Some teachers want to have massive reach. Uh, so I think we see a teacher as a guiding person and doing like high level feedback, right? So something where like on a if you want, right, on a strategy level tells you, hey, this is the outline of multiple months for you. This is the feedback for you in terms of your weak points right now. And I don't need to give you the same feedback next week. Maybe in a month we can recheck what's happening. Uh, so I see it as like that. So like the teacher creates a master plan and does checkpoints, then in between, AI comes and sits there, spends time with a human actually, as they like do the heavy lifting and the volume with the exercises,
Yes.
and then the teacher comes from time to time for course correction. This is, I think,
Yes.
where it's gonna go. The tooling for now that we have is not connecting these two dots yet. So essentially, our AI has no idea what the teacher told the student. So now the student needs to come home and type, okay, my teacher advised that, and then AI will pick that up. But that's like manual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we in parallel also have our own video conferencing tool where you just like in Zoom, right? You can have a call with the student for the teachers. So our idea essentially that we will have real-time singing lessons between the teacher and the student. We will record those. Those recordings will be processed and fed into AI. So then you have a lesson
Ooh.
with the teacher. You have a lesson with the teacher, let's say once a week. You finish it. The next day you come, you launch AI. AI will be like, okay, yesterday you had a lesson with Linor, and she advised this and that and that.
Oh man, That's
And now
amazing.
let's practice. And then you practice, practice, practice. And then maybe Linor comes and watches, okay, what was happening during those practice sessions, what the AI was doing. And then like you can tell to the student or to AI maybe, right? Hey AI, like, no, 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 don't do that, do that. Um, pretty much, right? And then they go in sync. It's a pretty big ecosystem we need to build, and like it will require a lot of work. I don't know at which point we will introduce this link, because for now we're trying to focus on that part that the students are using to really polish it, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but this is where I
Yeah.
think the teacher will come in.
That would be definitely a game changer because like we all know, the practice is, and building a habit is a blockage for so many people and struggling with the motivation that has so many different, mental aspects to it. Why would you not want to practice something that you know that you love doing? There's all
Yeah,
kinds of complexities to that, and it would be that easy. You don't even have to remember what you did in the lesson. You don't even have to write it down. You just go to a lesson and then you come back the next day and the AI tells you, okay, you did this. Let's practice that together. That would be so easy to use. That would be like
I
like
think
almost fail proof, I think.
I think the big challenge here that we as a company need to figure out is who is going to pay for what.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, of course, like student pays for education. That's clear. But
Yeah.
still, it's not super obvious how to structure that. As you have a teacher on the platform, they interact with AI, a student interacts with the teacher, student interacts with AI. So there are a lot of like monetary connections there. Um, and it's just a business challenge. This is not technical challenge or anything, which is obviously also solvable, but also is not simple, right? It is complex. So I think that's one more variable that slows down um, the adoption.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic stuff. So the promise, yeah, that AI has and all the amazing things that can come out of it and what we can already have from it. And then maybe also like one boundary, sort of like um, what we as users should keep in mind when we're using AI.
Um, so honestly, I think a good idea is to imagine that you are asking ChatGPT for a health advice.
Right. A lot of
How you
people
do
made
that,
that mistake, including me.
which is, I think, is not a bad idea, but I think there should be there a verification step, right? So I think it's good to get an advice, but then to say, okay, thank you very much. It's a very good advice. Give me the source of the information that you just told me, right? And then you go to the source and like you look at it.
Right.
Uh, if it's critical, right? Because if you ask it like something that you forgot and then it sounds reasonable, you don't bother. So I think with singing, uh, we should go similarly, right? We should take as a first constraint is like, am I feeling fine? Like, is there any discomfort? Is there any
That's
pain?
the most
So
basic thing.
if yeah, if that's the thing, full stop. We don't trust that AI anymore, and that's it, right? And then we just go try figure out with a real human or with a real authoritative source, like why, what's going on. Similar like with the health, right? Are we in the territory where we have enough knowledge to judge of what it helps us with? Great, uh, just awesome tool. It helps us, right? Are we like just a little bit outside of what we know? Still okay, right? We kind of can judge if it's a bullshit or not. Are we talking about something sensitive, something that doesn't feel good? Just, yeah, be cautious. This thing hallucinates, it makes mistakes, just as humans,
Yeah.
uh, right? Because you also shouldn't blindly trust humans.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah, I
so
would
that's a
say
good
that that would be my advice.
Yeah. So I forgot to ask about that, the hallucination. Yeah. So that's a term that I started hearing with regards to AI. That's what they call it. If you ask it something and it makes something up, then they call that hallucination. So how do you deal with that? So you already said, you know, be critical of it, take it with a grain of salt, and also verify. Either check the source or ask a vocal coach. Is there another way to
Yeah.
handle the
So
hallucinations?
there are multiple, how to say, schools already, I would, of thought or like ways of thinking about it that I see because I'm also in tech and I think is being pioneered in the software development applications and then getting exposed to all the other areas. And there is no consensus yet in the software development community what's going to be the future of that. But one consensus is like imagine we have a company where a lot of people work and some of them are more qualified, some of them are less qualified, but all in all at the end of the day somehow that company manages to like produce something. How does that work? There are systems, right? There are processes, and people verify each other, right? So one human does the work, then there is a quality control that comes and checks another human. So there are multiple humans in the loop. They check each other. There are systems that are in place to check things. So some people think that with AIs, same thing, exactly same thing will happen. There will be like a lot of small little AIs that look after each other, try to help each other, correct each other, and on top of that, systems and processes that are helping them align. And they will reach the point where that system is identical to a human corporation that is
Yeah.
producing something. Um, maybe, maybe we just have to wait, build better systems, and they will go away. Uh, in a
Until
normal
then,
sense.
we verify them
Until then, we
ourselves.
verify, yes. Another distinction that I would make that some types of hallucinations that AI might have are dictated by the goal it has, right? And I think that's a very important thing to be aware of. Like, for example, AI might be instructed in the first place to please you, or it might be instructed in the first place to sell to you, or it might be instructed in the first place to engage you or entertain you or whatnot, right? And depending on that, it will come up with lies to satisfy that goal. We humans, we are a bit different because our goal is biological, right? We want to survive, we want to reproduce, right? We want to minimize the pain, we want to maximize the pleasure. And it's kind of like we're all different, but we have this basic setup that is kind of shared that helps us predict one another, predict the behaviors of one another. With AI, is a little bit different because they don't have those instincts. So the goal is set in the very beginning, the goal that they have to optimize for. And because of that goal, the types of lies and the types of hallucinations that they might produce might be different from the human ones. And that's why we shouldn't expect them to behave like humans. So when we judge on what they lie about, we need to have a second thought. What is the most probable goal of this artificial intelligence that is talking to me? And
Yeah.
and and then based on that, think like what to verify.
Right, right. And then how do you determine what their goal is? How do you know that?
Oh, that's very simple. All corporations want to make money.
Yeah.
No, and they might have a secondary goal on top of that, which I don't know. Like you look at the reputation of the company, you look at the mission of the company, you look at the values if they have it. Yeah, and you try to guess what they've done really, because you cannot know. You cannot like open it with a knife and see what's inside. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so make an educated guess. Sorry if that's a bad like if that doesn't sound promising, but like just it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, we shouldn't be naive about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, and we also like, right, and I'm in the same place where I have to deal with the conflicts, right? Because I use AI that is provided to me by other companies, so I have to think what goals they are setting there. On top of that, I'm setting my own goals, right? I also, as a business, need to make money. I also have my values. I also have my goals. Uh, I can tell you 100 times that my goal is like to teach you as good as possible, but what does it even mean?
Mm. So what
What
are
does
your
it mean
goals?
exactly, right? So for now, right, the way we structure it for our AI, right, is that there are like boundaries of what it can and cannot talk about, and we're trying to frame it, right? Like, but it still really sometimes jumps out of it. And then the main goal, as we said it, is that basically engage the user enough to form a habit, because that's what we see as a necessary foundation before we can teach anyone anything. And also for us, like if you go away, we don't make money, we don't teach you anything. So it's like a wasted opportunity. So first phase is like engage as much as possible with the boundaries of not harming health and not lying. And then as you are there, like make measurable progress. Like because you have the data, based on that data, do as much as possible so that the user is making measurable progress and not going away.
Yes.
That's for now how it is set. Um, but again, like maybe it's not an optimal setup. Maybe it should be something else. So
I mean, it sounds
the
good to
future
me,
will
at least
the
as a
future will
start.
tell.
Yeah. With the Little Linor bot, we encountered, the hallucination as well. When you would basically just say, "Oh, you can find where Lenore is talking about, performance exercises in this chapter that doesn't exist, and here's a link that doesn't work." So the way we did that, the way we handle it is that we needed to configure the back end, and in like basically like you said, give it boundaries. Yeah, so you don't give links, first of all. Um, don't take knowledge from outside the knowledge base that we gave you. Yeah, and also what to do when something happens, like if someone asks you a question that is not singing related, basically don't answer it, gently just say that it's not really singing related, or ask me something, make it singing related, and stuff like that. So like when we encounter a limitation, or we can just sort of go a little bit out of whack, then we give it like a condition. And now we're at the point when we can share it with the students, because it's, like you said, it's like 99%. When you ask it something, it will give you an answer that I would say, like, yeah, I agree with that. So that was our goal, that people can get access to my knowledge and my teaching without
What's good,
needing to
I
wait for
think.
me to
Mhm.
have time to do that.
I think what's great and what helps us with this kind of cases is that people are getting exposed to AI everywhere. They are getting used to it, and they understand the concepts like hallucinations themselves, right? So we don't really have to do the education part and the explanation part, because people use ChatGPT daily. They use their professional tools that specific to their niche. So I think that helps a lot with framing the expectations. Because if we were to release something like that 3 years ago, I imagine how many people would come and even try to sue me, maybe. Now people, they understand what's going on. They understand how these things behave. They are trained to expect things to go wrong. And I think that's very good. So we also shouldn't be running too much ahead of our time, I guess. We should be on time with things, not really, but not to hurt people, right? Because then if they're already warned of what's going on, then they might be able to spot the mistake themselves. Um,
Yeah, but that's also why I wanted to do this conversation. Yeah, Because a lot of people are talking about the limitations of AI and the promise and the potential of it. And I thought it would be very helpful to do that in our niche as well, yeah, and
100%. Yeah,
specifically
I'm
for the
really
tools
happy
that
we're
we
talking
have.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How by the way it felt like having like that kind of little Lenore, like almost like identifying as you, representing you. Like
It
what's
is identifying as me. So if you ask it a question, that's a bit bizarre still for me. If you ask it a question, it answers in first person. So the way I teach, or what I teach about this, and it's like, oh, that's me. I'm a bot now. So it's funny. It's very bizarre. It's very weird. It's a little bit like it feels a bit vulnerable for me because I want it to be accurate 100%. Otherwise, I feel like I'm doing something wrong and I should be punished. That I should be ashamed of myself for giving someone a tool and telling them that's me. And then, what if it doesn't work? But I guess, the AI is it's a little bit like humans, right? It sometimes makes mistakes. So we need to just see it
just
that way.
just
And
mistakes are
as long
different.
as
Exactly.
you frame it that way, then it's fine. It was very it is very exciting to see how it gets better at answering the questions. Yeah. So in the beginning,
Oh,
it would be like hallucination all over the place. I was like, no, we're not going to be able to use that. And now, when we ask it a question, it actually gives the answer that I would approve. So I was like, yeah, and also it's getting better at adding the little caveats and the little details that I would, and not
hmm.
skipping things. Yeah. So yeah, like for example, if you talk about jaw tension, that it
Yeah.
tells you, you should just keep in mind that the keyword is release and not overactivate the jaw. Yeah. Where it could have also just straightforward give you the exercise that I give for jaw tension and that's it. But it tells you, what you should pay attention to and what could go wrong. And I was impressed. I just tested it yesterday with my students live. So someone gave that question and we tested it live, and it gave that really thorough, multi-layered answer, and I was impressed. So that's very
That's
that's very
amazing.
exciting. That's very exciting. Yeah. And I think if it helps people, like, I have capacity to the time that I can dedicate to my students, and the hours that I work in, I'm not available 24/7, right? And I have students from all over the world. What if they're over there, their nighttime, their evening time, and I'm sleeping, and they're practicing now, and they want an answer now, you know? And they have all this knowledge, they have all the database, they have all the courses, but are they going to watch all of the courses right now? Of course not. It's going to take too long. So they can just ask the chat, the little Linor bot can ask it, about support, about tongue tension, about performance, about all the kind of stuff that I teach, and get an answer right away. And then it can also ask me the question for later if there's anything to elaborate, but at least they don't have to wait and like pause their practice for it. Yeah. So that, yeah, for me that's very exciting. I also got a compliment yesterday from one of the students that is very enthusiastic about it, and she said like, it's like having a little Lenore. So that was very sweet. And you have a second little Lenore.
Okay, I'm convinced. I want to have a little Sergey. I have no idea who's gonna be using it. I'm not
You
teaching
never
anyone
know.
anything.
You never know. But that's
But
that's
yeah,
very exciting stuff indeed. Very exciting stuff. Well, yeah, I think I talked about the stuff that I wanted to talk about, and I feel we made full circle with
yep,
the promise and the concerns, and then wrapping it up with a bow
sounds
on
good.
top. Thank you, Sergey, for this illuminating conversation, and
It was my
all kinds of
pleasure.
things that I didn't know about how the AI works and how the technology in general analyzing the voice, how that works, and how we can use it to get better at our singing. So thank you so much for that and for your time
Thank
and
you for
energy.
having me here. Yeah, it was a pleasure, really.
Yeah. So where can people find the platform that we've been talking about, Singing Carrots?
Oh yeah, you just type in Google singing carrots and you go to singingcarrots.com and that's it.
Yeah, and
Very
then you will
simple.
get that little interview, right? Like it will ask you a couple questions, and then you get going. Yeah,
Yeah, on the website, we do a little survey. It's basically an assessment trying to figure out who you are, what are your goals, and what's your background in singing. And based on that, we propose a training plan, and all the training plans include the AI coach that we spoke about. So yeah, please go
nice.
check it out. And yeah, if people wanna contact me or talk to me, um, either I have a corporate email, Sergey at singingcarrots.com, or LinkedIn page. I'm not really active on social media. I don't
Mm.
do any other channels, but those two would
Yeah,
do.
awesome. Thank you so much. And if you go on
I
Singing
enjoyed a
Carrots and
lot.
you start, if you start training on Singing Carrots, you will encounter my 3 minute warm up as well.
Ah, yeah,
That was
100%.
a great fun project for us to do together.
And I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. So, yes, thank you. Have a great day. And yeah, until the next talk. Who knows
Yeah,
what
hope
we're
to speak
going
to you
to have
soon.
to talk about 3 days from now and all the new things in AI pop up.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
thank you. Bye bye.